Why Boys Don't Play with Dolls by Katha Pollitt. Well, today's presentation, I'm now introducing a new genre, which is the compare and contrast genre. And I'm utilizing Katha Pollitt's essay as an example of how to take one subject and and promote the comparison within the context of that one particular subject. So the subject we're talking about here is gender roles. Of course, she has this very interesting title, um, and so she's going to illustrate the manner in which the perceived, um, you know, common perceptions about gender, how these can be the reasoning why they shouldn't stand. Okay. So I'd like to begin with her argument, or at least what I've defined as her primary argument throughout the essay. And it says, biological determinism may reassure some adults about their present, but it is feminism, the ideology of flexible and converging sex roles that fits our children's future. Okay, so if we take this subject of gender roles and we try to understand what frames the ideology behind a gender role, on one side, you are going to have those ideals of biology. Your biology determines your gender. We've all heard that saying, right? And many people, perhaps even the majority today, would probably say that's it. Yeah, your biology determines your gender. Katha Pollitt, however, being a feminist, she's gonna take she's gonna take a countering perspective. She's gonna say, look, it's not biology that determines your gender, or these ideologies about capacity regarding gender. It is feminism. And what she means by feminism, it's not this, you know, female, anti-male perspective, but rather this kind of the idea that a woman, or the labeling of a woman, or even a boy, right, a man, that um, the stereotypes which generally define them do not stand. This is what she means by feminism, that we should not limit a particular gender role to these particular status quo stereotypes. So I'd like to, to clarify a little bit about this concept of feminism. I'd like to take the aspects of culture, culture, maybe traditions, maybe just general perceptions regarding a gender role. So again, you take subject of gender roles. It is defined by biology on one end, and it is defined by culture, upbringing, traditions, etc. on the other end. Okay. Now she gives this really interesting and ironic uh, um, example, and she illustrates how this organization, or expresses rather, how this organization, the National Organization for Women, actually relates a type of argumentation for science, for biology, in which now acknowledges that boys, through due to um, genetic um, um, wiring within these males, uh, that's the reasoning of why they like guns, right? or these stereotypical enculturated ideals about soldiers or guns or fast cars, model cars, etc. And why little girls, why they like dolls, or the idea of fashion, party dresses, this sort of stuff, right? Uh, and again, she's going to take this, the the mantle of feminism. Again, not as this anti-male conception, um, but rather as a removal of these stereotypes. Look, biology might say one thing, but let me show you why biology is generally wrong. And ultimately, as part of the culture, she's going to relate the upbringing of a child as a strong reasoning. Not only the upbringing, but the context in which those upbringing manifests particular gender role ideologies. So again, biology versus culture, upbringing, etc. And in addition to now, so the irony, right? Here's a national organization for women that is narrowing the understanding of a gender role by biological claims. And she's going to show some, she's going to illustrate why that's not the case. And the first example, or not the first example rather, but one of the examples is a mention of Barbie. And so she's at a birthday party. There's, here's a woman giving a gift. And once she gives that gift, she feels guilty. Why? Why do you feel guilty giving a pretty doll to a child? Well, and here comes the maybe the according to Pollitt in the essay, she's demonstrating an awareness of what Barbie represents. Right? So culturally and contextually, here's this Barbie, uh, and the mother saying, gosh, here's my Barbie as a gift. I'm so sorry. And why is that? Because Barbie, as a type of metaphor, um, illustrates, right? Symbolizes um, what we, by contemporary measures, conceive of as beauty, as a type of beauty. Um, and so, what are little girls going to do as they're growing up? They're in that learning process. They're absorbing, they're internalizing an understanding of the world. To them, beautiful is going to equal Barbie. Despite all her alien features, right? Her inhuman alien features, um, it's going to transfer over to this doll. Um, and so you can see how the culture here is affecting an idea of what it means to be beautiful, what it means to be, if you want to be a girl, you've got to be Barbie. Right? She also, shortly after that, she also uses another example in which she addresses sports. So on one end, she's addressing little girls and the manner in which they come to um, define conceptions of beauty, you know, attributing them to figures like Barbie, or you know, even further today, I would say when you look at the media, what the media defines as beauty. Um, but then she uses boys, right? And it doesn't have to be boys. It can also be young ladies, right? When we're dealing with sports, about boys' behavior. And, here comes the boy. He's a baseball player or a football player or a soccer player. And, if you are an athlete, if you're a jock, so to speak, your behavior has to go in line a certain way. So, here comes the young man, and he's maybe catcalling another girl, or he's whistling, or he's mimicking maybe the chewing of tobacco, um, spitting on the ground, having a very almost uh, egocentric behavior about him, the tough guy, so to speak, right? um, and what do parents do rather than educate or say, hey, that's not very respectful. It's not very nice, so to speak. what do they do? Oh, you can't blame him. Boys will be boys, right? The stereotype of the traditional jock, so to speak. Oh, he's a sports guy, so he's got these culture lets him off the hook. Culture lets parents off the hook, right? These ideologies about what it means to be a jock generally let the eliminate the responsibility for further education. I'm not saying all parents, of course, right? I actually, with this one, I'm having a little bit of an issue because I know of many parents who say, hey, be a little bit more gentlemanlike, be a little bit more respectful, have some bit more sense of character. But she's also not incorrect, right? You look at a very athletic athlete. There's this hubris within them that um, positions them above someone else. Okay. So she says theories of innate differences in behavior are appealing. They let parents off the hook. No small recommendation in a culture that holds moms and even dads responsible for their children's every misstep on the road to bliss and success. Okay. So again, to illustrate this idea, if she gives an example of here comes the mother. She's been at work. She's been working, exhaustingly. Gets home and the child there, or the preteen or even teens there at home, and dirty clothes is on the floor. Maybe the bed is not made, etc., etc., etc. And rather than telling the child, "Hey, pick up your clothes, do your bed, wash the dishes, do something," have a sense of responsibility, help out your folks a little bit. It's the mother who comes home and cleans up after him. And so why does she clean up after him? Again, it goes in line with, okay, you're a boy, you're not going to clean up, right? Let me get your sister to do it, or I'll do it. You don't have sisters. Why, right? Why? These kind of sound very archaic, very ancient ideals, but do they still, are they still in place today? Well, uh, in some senses, yes. Right. This seems to be the implications that Pollitt is expressing here. But then she counters a little bit, right? She gives a little bit of enlightenment, and she says, "Hey, look, for every kid who fits a stereotype, there's another who's breaking one down. Sometimes it's the same kid, the boy who skateboards and takes cooking, his after-school program, the girl who collects stuffed animals and A pluses in science." Um, so today in contemporary, and we also see it in the media, right? Today's woman is not yesterday's woman. Right? Today's girl is not yesterday's girl. Even today's boy, I would say, is not yesterday's boy. I think there's a little bit of a negotiation on what it means to these ideals about identity, right? And the defiance of these false stereotypes regarding identity. Um, so again, she takes the subject of gender roles and she splits it. She shows, look, this is what biology states, and but I'm going to show you, you don't have to let your biology define your gender. You don't have to whatever your gender is, it should not come with a limitation as to what you can or cannot accomplish. You're a woman, can have as much capacity as the stereotypes of the capacity of a man. Okay. I hope this helps you. Um, Compare and contrast genre and why boys don't play with dolls. Thank you.